with us, the one and only Billy Alexander. You may know him from YYNOT and various other endeavors. And most importantly, what we want to talk about today is your upcoming solo album.
Well, thanks for having me, Peter.
Absolutely. Been a while.
Yeah, it has, man. Yeah. So, yeah, very excited. A lot of work going on still with it, but it's been uh, it's been quite a ride so far.
If I can interject, and I don't want to talk too much, but
Yeah,
one thing about guys like you, when somebody is like the driving creative force behind a band, like you are with Why Not, when they do a solo album, it sometimes there's a danger of, well, why wasn't this just another band album? Like this is the same thing. And I have to tell you, you've been nice enough to share with me some of the tracks,
yeah,
and that's not the case here. Stuff's fantastic, but you've got some stuff in there where it's 70s styles riff. It's flirting with power pop. Some of these riffs could be
right,
Alice Cooper and Kiss riffs from like
right,
rock and roll over back, but
right.
with modern production. And I gotta say, it's great because it's you, but it's not just here's why not without Tim and Mike and Adi,
Right.
So well done.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, and there's, it's interesting you say that because I mean that's yeah, true. I mean, I have a lot of different influences in terms of playing and writing and style, and just overall, just a pretty vast sort of almost like someone's record collection. You have your Rush stuff, your prog stuff, and then you have your, like I'm a huge Tom Petty fan as a
Mhm.
writer, the Beatles, just a lot of classic rock stuff, and just a lot of classic rock and roll. And this record gave me a chance to sort of um, spread out a little bit more and sort of showcase the kind of thing that in a band like Why Not, of course, I focus the material towards the players in the band and the lead vocalist and sort of that Rush type style for that particular band. So gives me a chance to do things that wouldn't really maybe fit for that particular thing. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun just being able to kind of get back to some of those other influences.
Yeah, definitely. As far as that goes, when you're writing for this album, is this or was this a new writing session, or is this a collection of older unused ideas that you've been wanting to get out, or combination?
No, it was basically just, I just started writing and I kind of had the idea because I just really have never done a solo record per se, even, as you say, in many situations, um, I'll be the main writer and arranger and producer, what have you, and somebody else is singing, kind of my lyrics and that whole thing, and presenting it for other people to sort of in a band situation, or actually writing for other artists, actually, even in other genres like country, pop, um, you know, other styles of even like funk pop and things.
Mhm.
If you're a songwriter, you can usually try and stay sort of what's the word I'm looking for? I guess just not sort of pinned down to one thing.
Right.
So yeah, I just felt like, okay, well, we've got some sort of I've got some time right now to just sort of almost therapeutically just write whatever I want. So I just decided, yeah, I'll just go ahead and do this, and then I kept writing more songs, and then just exploring other avenues, and just became a little bit more of a fun thing. And then I decided, well, I'm just going to go ahead and release this thing. Um, and it's just been a blast, and it's been, I think, just a healthy thing for me to also just kind of like just not have a specific sort of task and a specific lane to stay in. So that's really been, I think, just healthy artistically to do
I
that.
should. I'm remiss if I don't mention the name of the upcoming album is My Rock and
Yeah.
Roll Diary.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
it's yeah, Rock and Roll Diary. And that name I think also encompasses um a lot of what I feel like it is, as I explained earlier. A lot of from the time that I picked up a guitar till now, all the different journeys I went on as far as exploring styles and musicality and influences. And, I just wanted to make basically a rock and roll record, not necessarily, you know, pop rock or prog or any particular thing, just rock and roll. And if it's something that is a little bit more, like you say, a little less prog, or if I want to go there, in some
And
cases I did.
right, well, like alpha rhythm, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's the first, is really an early release. It wasn't necessarily supposed to be the first single.
Hmm.
My manager just suggested, there's really no harm in just kind of going ahead and putting that one out there. So the official release for that particular song is October 13th. That'll be available, on all the Spotify's and everywhere for streaming, download, all that stuff. And yeah, and it's an instrumental track. So
Right. Yeah, and it's a good one.
thank you.
When you were doing stuff, this album, were you tempted to kind of like, ooh, I've got free reign. I'm going to use all my guitars, even if it's only on one isolated little part. Like I didn't use the Telecaster at all. I got to use this,
Yeah.
or do you basically just kind of like, this is working for the song. I'm going to keep using this.
I always do the latter because no matter what I'm working on, if I sort of hear something in the sort of tonal palette that I think would work here, or I already sort of envisioned it, I'll grab that guitar and try to sort of get that texture, that color across, even if it's just one part of one section of a verse or something where I want some sort of personality to kind of sparkle through, or something maybe to be a little bit more meaty or whatever it is. That's really the thing from overall, but definitely with the guitar, I put a lot of time on this record to really trying to get the guitar sounds I wanted that I was hearing and really try and capture them. I probably spent more time on this record than I probably ever have to just really and experiment. And
Mm-hmm.
that takes time because you think, well, I know these things that work, for these jobs, but I want to go outside of that and I want to experiment. Let me try to get a new sound here or a new vibe there. And that takes time. And then sometimes, if it doesn't really go the way you thought, it's like, well, it's not really wasted time, but you just kind of go, all right, let me try something else.
Right. Yeah, and you even on some of your like more traditional songs, you do fly in a lot of like new sounds here and there in a song. Like awesome, you just have something kind of whoosh in like a new riff or new sound
Yeah.
where you're like, oh, that kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, it fits, but
Yeah.
yeah, very
Yeah. Yeah.
cool.
Yep.
Now, another thing with that working solo, you've got such talented guys. Like I know now, Tim and Mike and the guys and the new singer.
Mhm.
Was it more time consuming to do everything yourself, or was it less time consuming because nothing's lost in translation? Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, in there's the dog.
Yeah, my
Uh,
dog's right here. It's fine.
well, I mean, in most cases, uh, I usually for the band, for example, I usually sort of present a finished product um, anyway. So, they basically put their personality
Mhm.
into it, and then there's time as a producer, sort of working with them a little bit on what I'm looking for, or what have you. Or sometimes they'll do something that, wow, I didn't expect that. That's great.
Mhm.
That's my favorite thing is when you work with another musician and they surprise you with something you hadn't thought of,
Right.
or there's some sort of element in their personal style and personality that you really want to capture, and that's fun, to do that. But so to answer your question, I mean, it was basically the same process. The only difference would be that instead of having the singer come in after learning the song, having to listen to me sing it, in this case, I just kept my vocal, you
Right.
know. So that part. But I mean, some things did take more time, like on some of the bass tracks and everything, rather than just laying down bass riffs and not knowing it's not going to be the final product to really nail it. This time,
Right.
I really put more time into getting it tight, as I could,
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I asked, because like on a
Yeah.
bass track, you can just
Yeah.
close enough is good enough
Yeah.
and give the bass player an idea of what they need to do. But
Right.
here you have to get the tone, the
Yeah.
performance down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you using Logic, Pro Tools? What do you
Pro Tools mostly. Yeah. I mean, I do have Logic that's, I really don't use that for much. Sometimes I might go over there just to kind of explore a sound or something, and then I'll just, fly it into Pro Tools anyway. But yeah, I'm pretty much on Pro Tools,
Gotcha.
for the most of it. Yeah.
Do you think any of these songs are something that would work their way into a why not set list,
I mean, it's
or is it something you want to
possible.
keep a wall between?
I don't know. I don't really think about it that far. I mean, if I'm open to something. I'm always open to whatever. I don't put up like rules about that stuff. Um, I think I specifically wrote a lot of the material more for my,
Hmm.
let's call it, lack of vocal range, maybe. So, so that's one of the fun things about writing for a band like Why Not, when you have a vocalist like a D that just can just go
She is amazing.
up to the stratosphere, so I can write for that voice. Where so that's you know so if it's a song that also, if I'm doing this as a solo album, it's going to be released and it's going to live out there as that. So then to sort of pluck it out, if I was to do that, maybe it would be down the line, if needed, but I'm certainly not, against it or anything like that.
Sure, sure. Do you have any plans to do any solo gigs for any of this material, like
Yeah,
locally or anything?
yeah, we're talking about it. I mean, those things are challenging with, getting the musicians together and having to rehearse for something like that. And of course, that's not my normal thing to go out and
Right.
front a band. But yeah, there's some talk about doing some of that once the record's out and, kind of see how it does.
Now, you said October 13th for Alpha Rhythm coming out. What about
Right.
the album itself?
The street date right now that's being talked about is like mid-January.
Okay.
Yeah, so that gives me more time to accidentally maybe write one more,
There you go.
which which I did the other day. I just one just kind of came and I thought, well, we already have enough, but I just felt like it needed one more sort of up tempo kind of banger.
I can see that. But you got,
So
yeah, you got what, 12 tracks now?
yeah,
That's a solid
yeah,
album. That's
yeah. It's gonna be, yeah, definitely. And oh, and I also have to mention, you were talking about some of the members of Why Not. Tim is actually playing on a track. He's
okay.
he's playing bass on a track, and Mike is playing on a few tracks.
Okay.
And just so a lot of that sort of Why Not DNA is it's kind of in there, really. I
Right.
mean, on a lot of the stuff. So, and I love that. It's just made it even more fun to have, my best friends that are in my band, kind of help me out with this thing. It's been a blast.
And it makes sense. Like you have the freedom to branch off a little bit and do things that just suit you, but at the same time, you've got this amazing group of friends that are talented, and you're like, if like, well, Tim would probably do something different than me on this.
Of course.
Why not? He's there. And
Of course, and he did, and it was fun to kind of work with him. We actually there was part of the song where we were kind of on, like you and I right now, where he's tracking sections of it, in real time, and then I'm going, yeah, do that again or whatever,
mhm,
so sort of producing the session through video
right.
conference because he's set up on his end. So that was really fun too. And then at the end of it, he's just like, "That's it." I go, "Yeah, man, it's perfect."
Right.
He's
Yeah.
like, "Okay."
Speaking of Adi,
Mhm.
the last time I spoke to you in person briefly was at last year's Bubba Bash when you came through Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, and of course, a lot's changed. And man, I've been a fan of Rocky, all your singers, but you just keep one upping yourself every
Yeah,
time. Because every time I'm like, oh,
yeah,
last one was great, and then you
yeah,
got a new singer, and every time I'm like, holy shit.
yeah, yeah. No, Adi is. I say this all the time. She's just as cool of a person as she is musician and
Oh,
singer. And that is so important because it's not just that chemistry that, you spend a lot of time, well, not a lot of time, but when we do get together on the road or whatever, we spend time together. And
Mhm.
when you have a really great vibe from everybody, it spills over into the music. You know, how can it not? You know, it just makes better music when people really just get along so well. And we have that with her. We just, you know, we're so happy to have her on board right now. She's really fantastic.
Yeah, great fit for
Yeah.
the I think the original stuff, and of course the Rush covers. And and I don't know. You have to tell me what you personally think about this. I'm always kind of hesitant. I don't know why to hit on your Rush covers because you guys are so fantastic at that. But I don't want people to take away from it as that's what you are, because
Yeah.
it's so much more than that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
Um,
mean, I think most people that are have more than just a passing familiarity with the band, see that there's more going on.
right,
Uh, I mean, we have original albums out. We
right.
play a lot of that stuff live, and on and on. And everybody has their distinctive personalities while we're honoring the music of Rush. I think the more you listen, the more you really hear each one of our individual kind of personalities through the music. You know.
When you're doing an album, and of course you're producing the Why Not stuff as well,
Mhm.
with writing and playing and performing everything, what percentage of the production and mixing is it? I imagine it's a big chunk.
As far as
Like time, like writing
oh,
and performing the material
oh,
versus just the process of getting
oh.
sound right.
Well, I mean, the believe it or not, the writing is the for me, it's kind of the quickest and easiest part.
Mhm.
It's because then you have to make a record out of it. You know, it's great to have like you hear it in your head and you know you've written it and you kind of know what all the parts are and you have an idea of what it's you want it to be. But then you got to go out and make it be what you want it to be, and that's that can be a grind because you have to get the arrangement specifically in our case because we can't get into a room and bash out arrangement ideas for like a week. You know, I basically have to arrange the song fully, have that done, and then kind of hand it to the band. And then they put like, you know, Mike will go through. He has very specific ideas. I hear this drum part going with this, whatever, and then we talk about it, and on and on. But then, yeah, then I have to get it. You know, I have to start working on it and keep working on it and keep working on it until it starts sounding to me like a real record. And
Yeah,
that can be you know that can take some time, you know. And then there's the mixing itself,
right.
which is I mean I go on for days and weeks at a time, you know, mixing one song until I get it, you know, close to what I'm, you know, what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, get that cymbal perfect. Like, oh, now it's eating up the acoustic, and
Yeah, yeah. So and even this record, you know, I'm in that danger zone of circling back to a song I called "Finished" and going like, I don't know. I bet I could tweak that one little thing, just a little, you know.
right.
But you got to be careful because at some point you got to say it's done.
Well, very cool. I am looking forward to the album. What I've heard so far is fantastic and a pleasant
Thanks.
surprise of familiar Billy Alexander and
Yeah,
new sounding stuff. But
yeah.
tight, I gotta jump back to like I want to say I've only heard these, as you know, for 2 days now, but like I want to say it's on "I Need More Rock and Roll."
Yeah.
What a tight, focused guitar solo!
Oh, thank you.
Just
Yeah,
thematic and cool, and just
yeah, thank you. Yeah,
so
that song, and it's hard to talk about when people haven't heard it, but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
we've
But
also got a video in the can for that one. Wait till you see that.
cool,
It's it's pretty funny, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah, this whole record
very
I think
cool.
is going to be fun for people.
Well, I am looking forward to hearing the rest of it. And as
Thanks,
always,
brother.
it's a pleasure to catch up with you. And
Same, man.
we will, I'm sure we'll talk again soon and
All
continue
right.
on down the journey.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, Billy. My pleasure.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.